IndiGo, having issued a statement over the pilot assault that we just told you about. It said, and I quote, on January 14th, during the announcement of a flight delay by the first officer of a flight, passenger assaulted the first officer. As per the protocol, the passenger was declared unruly and handed over to the law enforcement agencies for further action. The incident is being referred to the Independent Internal Committee for appropriate action and inclusion of the passenger on the no-fly list as laid down in regulatory guidelines, unquote. All right, so that is, of course, a significant breaking input that we're picking up given the incident that you see on your screens of the assault. Shweta, my colleague, joins me for the latest. Shweta, we do see the visuals of this unfortunate incident, but give us a quick sense of what this means for the flyer now.
Well, absolutely. Here we understand from IndiGo's statement that the flyer has been put into no-fly list and categorically stating about the passenger has been put to arrest and legal proceedings are also taking place against him. Remember, this particular incident took place when the IndiGo flight was allegedly delayed due to fog, and what we understand through the incident is that the passenger had allegedly hit the first officer, that's the pilot of IndiGo Airlines, which was from Delhi to Goa of 6E2175 flight. Here we also see that the legal actions have already been taken place against the passenger and he has been put to no-fly list, and the rest of the legal proceedings are being done by the airlines as well as by the CISF at the airport, which was present at the airport. Back to you.
Right, Shweta. Thank you very much for getting us the latest as far as it is concerned. But talking about the chaos and confusion, I'm going across to my guest this afternoon who will better help us understand from both perspectives, the consumer and the airline point of view. Captain Sanjay Karve, aviation expert, Professor Sriram Khanna, managing editor, Consumer Voice magazine, and Amir Singh, senior aviation lawyer and frequent flyer. Gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here on Mirror Now. Appreciate you, just like those passengers, having patience as we had to connect to our correspondents to get information on that breaking input. But let me come to you first, Sriram Khanna, with the fact that you're seeing how frustrated these passengers are, and rightly so, because these flight delays are not just a mere matter of like couple of minutes, it's a matter of hours. In fact, we've seen several instances of celebrities also talking about that. It's just not, one person getting affected by it. But here is the bigger question, which even citizens are asking, is that if there was proper communication from the airline end, we wouldn't be seeing this.
You see, it is not only a question of proper communication. The airlines need to have standard operating procedures for such emergency situations, such abnormal situations. They have standard operating procedures which they use in training their crew and their host staff to serve passengers, board them, deboard them, do the count, etc. Those are normal situations. But abnormal situations are the ones that are being faced today. For example, if the airline, if the people are in the aircraft and the clearance doesn't come and they are further delayed, how long will you keep them in? How will you keep those passengers in good humor? That is where the communication comes in. And I don't think they have standard operating procedures to deal with such emergency and abnormal situations, which means that the airlines are merely looking at their revenue and just putting passengers in the plane, collecting money and making money. They now have to invest money in creating procedures, training their staff to anticipate the mentality of the passengers, the pressure the passengers come under when their flights are delayed, when they are sitting in a closed aircraft or an aero bridge for hours together. And also the DGCA regulations are not properly drafted. What arrangements the airline should have to make sure that the passengers are properly looked after in these abnormal situations? For example, there is a procedure that if there's a delay for more than a particular time, you have to serve refreshments. Are the airlines prepared for that? They are not even prepared with communications, leave alone refreshments. So it's a lot to be desired. I read a newspaper clipping from one of the airlines saying it's a sweet spot if the passengers keep flying and we get the right money. What they are concerned about is only money, not the service to the passengers. They have not invested enough, not in training.
I do not wish to agree totally with my colleague. What happens is during winter months, especially in Delhi or North India, there is a regular advisory issued by all airlines that please check the airline departure timings before leaving home. And we as passengers have that mentality. घर पे बैठ के क्या करेंगे? Airport जाके wait करते हैं. To some extent, that is right, because what would you do waiting in home, waiting endlessly, getting worried if the weather clears and my aircraft takes off? But when you take that call, कि घर पे बैठ के क्या करेंगे? You are also accepting that yes, there is going to be a delay. And now when we talk of delay, when the weather packs up, landing minima and takeoff minima are different. At times we confuse both of them. We say if the aircraft can land, why can't we take off? Like yesterday, we had n number of aircrafts lined up on the taxiway for a parking bay because the aircraft could not take off. I disagree with the fact that airlines are not paying sufficient attention to training. All aircrew are properly trained. No airline or no aircrew wants to have an accident on their hands. This is a false assumption that airlines don't train their crew or they cut corners as far as training is concerned. In fact, the Indian regulator, DGCA, is one of the most stringent regulator in the world. And most of the Indian aircrew, if you ask them unofficially, they will say it is much easier to fly abroad than fly within the Indian regulation because the amount of checks and procedures that the regulator has got, it makes your life as a crew very difficult. Now the passenger getting frustrated, I agree. But why are you hitting the co-pilot, the first officer or the captain? He's merely doing a job. I would rather compliment the airline that you're keeping the passengers fully updated on what's happening. And on the point that to disembark the passengers, there's something known as a sterile area, non-sterile area. Imagine the plight of the passengers who get out of the aircraft after taking off hand baggages. And you'll agree with me, the carry-on baggage of an Indian more often than not weighs more than the check-in baggage. Most of these airlines allow 15 kgs of check-in baggage and carry-on baggage is only 7 kgs. It will be a wonderful exercise if you go to any of the airports and actually weigh the carry-on baggage of the passengers and how difficult it is to slot it into the bins on top or remove it. Imagine 190 passengers being deplaned.
Better understand this as well, yeah.
A celebrity is a passenger. Please try and understand. When you're traveling by a commercial aircraft, not a chartered aircraft, when you're traveling by a commercial aircraft, you are a fare-paying adult or a child passenger. I really don't understand why the status of celebrity ensures, or do they want to be ensured that they're treated differently? What happens is everyone is in a hurry. If you see the announcement at airport, row number 28 to 36, please come to the gate. You'll find everyone comes to the gate, and even before anyone can do at the gate, people have rushed onto the bridge. We have had cases in the past where the aero bridge has collapsed because of the number of people. The staff at the gate has to be trained that unless and until they get a clearance from the aircrew inside the aircraft, they should not allow anyone to go. But the passengers don't listen. They see the crew going in, and you must see the chaos which takes place at the gate. 180 passengers, try and control 180 passengers with 2 or 3 people on the gate. It is practically impossible. And especially in a situation like today or yesterday, n number of flights delayed, there would be thousands of passengers. How are you going to handle them? The ideal way would be to give out messages, okay, look, these are the flights which are likely to be delayed. Please don't be in a hurry to leave your residence. As a passenger, I have been traveling frequently. I also know my worry is
Captain Sanjay, although you're making those significant points, I'm afraid I have to interject you there. I'm just going to come back to you and Amir as well, who's been extremely patient. But I understand a viewer of ours, Mahesh from Pune, has called us. Mahesh, good afternoon. Go ahead and share with us your perspective as to the chaos at the airport, and have you also been a victim of the same? All right, we'll try connecting with Mahesh to understand his experience as well. But let me get in Mr. Amir, who is also with us on the broadcast, and I understand I also have Nandini Sen Gupta, who is a flyer. Nandini, we do understand that you've also faced this chaos ordeal. Share with us your experience.
So I am coming back from Bhopal Lit Fest, and while our flight from Bhopal to Delhi
Okay.
took off for more or less on time, the flight I'm going to Pondicherry, which means that I have to take.
All right, we seem to have a technical issue, just like the airlines are also having. But Amir, coming to you. All right, okay, Amir, I apologize for that. I'm quickly going to come to you, but let me quickly get in Mahesh, our viewer calling us from Pune. Mahesh, go ahead and share with us your perspective.
Just now what your aviation expert, Captain Sanjay said, shows the mentality of airlines. They treated customers as a bonded labor. He had told us that customer faces this, he comes to the gate, he comes to that. The first standard operating procedure of the airlines is the moment some problem occurs, the duty manager is the first person who runs away. Who handles the customer? The junior most staff of the whole this thing. And they don't anticipate anything in this. They simply want to handle it customer, that's all. They don't know how to and what to.
All right. Okay, Mahesh, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective. You essentially say that customers are like bonded laborers for the airline. We'll try getting Captain Sanjay to also counter that. But let me go across to Amir. Amir, once again, thank you very much for being extremely patient. Coming to you finally, as far as, you are also a frequent flyer. You've seen many such instances. But in terms of the law, what options do consumers also have?
Unfortunately, there aren't enough options in India yet, and only competition will help. But the other problem is we don't have serious fines for this kind of behavior from the airlines. And I don't mean the behavior of the passenger, I'll come to that in a second. But the behavior of the airline of holding people back for 13 hours in the name of fog is just excessive. They should have available aircraft to carry passengers if there's an incoming flight delayed. And you must have heard it a few hundred times in India. The incoming flight was late, so the outgoing flight was consequently delayed. But that's not the answer. An incoming flight being delayed is not without fault. It is your fault for not having available aircraft. So that is one of the problems with the airlines. And the other problem, of course, is we are not putting out enough advisories for the airlines. Now, coming to the passenger for a second, what you've intimated about this passenger's unruly behavior, that has to be seen in isolation. It's totally wrong. And he has to be, taken on a no-fly zone. There are criminal punishments for passengers misbehaving on an aircraft. And that is very much on an aircraft. If you don't take the serious action required by law, the consequences will be that other passengers will think it's okay to do this. So I don't think he'll only be on a no-fly list. I think there'll be an FIR registered. And I think they should take serious action against that passenger for not just unruly behavior, but it is an assault. So that's the part about the passenger or anyone who misbehaves in these situations. You cannot be unruly. You cannot take the law into your own hands. And if you would like, you can leave the airport. The trouble is that we don't have enough of that happening. And our airports have too many people, and our flights are overpopulated with people. So there's a lot of demand. And that situation will not ease until we grow the number of flights to wherever we need them. There are already advisories from the DGCA. On 6 January 2023, they put out for unruly passengers. And you may remember it's exactly a year since that unfortunate incident on Air India, which caught the nation's eye because it was an unruly passenger who did something wrong. So all that has to be taken through the aircraft rules. There's excessive provision, actually, especially once the doors are closed. The pilot is like the prime minister of the aircraft. An attack on him is absolutely unpardonable. You have to take action. Thank you.
All right, Amir, as you help us better understand, legally speaking, you say there's not much, but obviously, in terms of the unruly incident that we see of the assault, of course, everyone is condemning it. I'll come back to you as far as that is concerned. But Captain Sanjay, you did hear what one of our viewers, Mahesh, also did state, that essentially it's about a business for the airline, and they have a sense of responsibility to better handle these kind of situations.
See, no airline treats its passengers as bonded labor. Somehow what has happened in this country is because IndiGo, SpiceJet, and these airlines advertise themselves as low-cost airlines, we have got a feeling that they are into money-making business. Let's get one thing absolutely straight. They are private companies. They are not here for a corporate social responsibility. They are here to make business. If you are a shareholder of IndiGo or a SpiceJet, you would definitely like the company to make profit. I am not saying do it at the cost of customer comfort, but obviously they are going to look at the profit margins. The second issue is the weather. Everyone is blaming the airline. What can the airline do when the weather clamps down? No one is asking Department of Science and Technology or the IMD, who should issue a warning and saying, look, because of this weather, the flying is going to be curtailed or aviation activities will come to a standstill in Delhi and North India. They are the nodal agency as far as the weather is concerned. Aviation is dependent on weather. When New York airport closes down because of snow, no one raises a hue and cry. People accept it that yes, in the month of winters, this is going to happen. What I agree is the airline can issue periodic advisories every couple of hours as to what is the state of the weather and which are the flights which are likely to be affected. But to make a generic statement that all passengers are treated as bonded laborers is totally wrong. No airline can survive with this logic that people who I'm carrying are bonded laborers. Now, talking of the airline responsibility, the same news items because of Delhi, yesterday and day before yesterday, at least 100 trains have got delayed by more than 10 to 12 hours. Are you trying to say that
Right,
those
Captain Sanjay, as
passengers
you
are
make
lesser
those
into place
points
than the
about the
air
responsibility
passengers?
of airlines, I'd have to interject you there. Apologies for it. I understand I have a viewer of ours, Mrs. Telang, calling us from Mumbai. Mrs. Telang, good afternoon. Go ahead and share with us your perspective.
Good afternoon. As a passenger, you require three things. The first is the airline has to inform you, which they always do. They've got these boards which show you departure, and also you're aware of other flights being delayed. So the airline is doing the bit. Now the second part is that you need toilet and you need something to eat. Now I flew from Udaipur last month, where the flights were delayed. We were all sitting quiet. There was only one restaurant which was giving food which ran out, and there were hundreds of passengers. There was one toilet only because the toilet downstairs was locked for some reason or the other. So now you cannot blame the airline. The people are angry because they don't have any facilities at the airport. Now, Udaipur is not a small village. It's a very big tourist and wedding destination. You should have better facilities there. There was no tea, coffee, nothing available. Now, people don't want a free cup of coffee. They would go and buy. But if nothing is available, and that is not the fault of the airline, you can see on the board all flights are delayed. But people will need to go to the toilet from time to time. People will need to eat something. So it's not the airline itself. As a gentleman said, that trains were delayed. You didn't make a big noise because you know the condition in winter in the north. So it is only passengers who are acting unruly, maybe because they're frustrated, they don't have anything to eat or they don't have proper facilities because there are elderly people, children, this, that. You need those facilities. You can't build big airports at some places and say, okay, now we are fine. No, Udaipur is a very big destination. So I don't think you should blame the airline only. The airline doesn't even have banquet rooms where they can put these passengers. And with all the security checks, they need to put them in a sterile area. Otherwise, if you let them wander out, again the whole security will start, which takes hours. So don't blame the airline. Blame the facilities of the airport. I'm telling you, I was at Udaipur and it was terrible. To go to the toilet, we were standing in a long line. Not everybody can, wait for so long. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Truth, and I appreciate you joining us with your perspective and also with the fact that what you had to go through and how you, of course, essentially look at this. But let me quickly get in another viewer of us, Praveen, calling us from Chennai. Praveen, good afternoon. Go ahead and share with all of us if you've also been through a situation like this.
See, most of the airlines, they don't have any rules to facilitate a customers when he's stuck because of the airline delay. And earlier there were rules that if he is stuck for more than 3 hours, he should be given a hotel or he should be given return transport to his house. Now, if you see this case, 13 hours, these guys are languishing in the airport. Obviously, they'll have a lot of issues. But what I am asking is, these government people, that is the civil aviation, has diluted all the rules which give facilities for the customers who are stranded because of delayed flights. So now the question comes, how do we get onto this? It is civil aviation, the national government, which is diluted all the policies which are in favor of the customer. Whereas in the US, you will find that most of them are customer-oriented laws.
Right, Praveen. I appreciate you also joining us on the broadcast. So basically, you are going on to, both of you actually, both our viewers were talking about the compensation and the facilities, or rather the lack of facilities. However, let me come to you as far as that is concerned. You heard these viewers of ours, perspective of theirs. The compensation, as far as the rules from the airlines end to better provide them facilities. If you could help us better understand that.
Yeah, there is a civil aviation requirement. When a flight is delayed, the airline is liable to pay compensation. That still exists and it has not been withdrawn. However, the difficulty is that it also has an exception for unforeseen circumstances and factors beyond the control of the airline. So what the airlines tend to do is to rely on that and say fog and weather is beyond our control, so they don't give the compensation. That's one. The second thing is that they also don't take their duties properly. When you have a 13-hour delay like that, you have to make appropriate provisions for the passengers. And that has already been brought out more than, I think, 10 years ago. It started in 2003 in the European Union. And the same thing with lesser standards was invented in India, including for baggage, for other things. Unfortunately, we have also watered down the international standards, and we make it softer on the airlines in India. So that results in them treating their duties lightly, and it's very difficult to get redressal. You have to go to a consumer court. It could take you 5 to 6 years to get that. So nobody pursues the airline, and your options are limited. So the passengers basically suffer, and they don't often get a refund for even circumstances where they want to leave the airport. That is a difficult situation in that calls for redressal by the regulator.
To help us better understand that, I'm actually going to come back to you to also understand the redressal instances. But I understand I also have a viewer of P. Kumar from Chennai calling us. P. Kumar, good afternoon. Go ahead and share with us your perspective.
Yeah, a very good afternoon and happy Makar Sankranti to you and Pongal. I had a very bad experience of the Calcutta Agartala flight. I got ill. You forget about food, they don't have even a blanket over there. I got admitted to a hospital by the IndiGo people, and it costed me 3,65,000 rupees bill. And till today, it is 7 months. The Liberty insurance of IndiGo, they are doing only, they have a printed kind of an email address redressal, and every time I send, and they said this, within 5 days of the travel, you have to have the insurance. Whenever we travel, you must have seen there is a tick mark is there if you wanted to have insurance and all. What the hell they are asked for this kind of insurance you take? You see today they are taking it, they are calling it a low-cost airline. We are paying the heaviest price in compared to Singapore, Australia, and America. The prices, Agartala to Nagpur has costed me 18,500, and they have made mockery of the air aviation, and they tell it is a low-cost airline. You tell me 18,500 is a low-cost airline? Today, I am a frequent flyer of Air India for last.
All right, P. Kumar, I think we've lost your line over there, but thank you very much for sharing with us your thoughts and also the unfortunate ordeal that you had to go through. Let me quickly get in Shanti Swaroop calling us from Vijayawada. Shanti, good afternoon. Go ahead and share with us your perspective and also if you had to go through an ordeal like this.
Minimum 4 hours before flight is going or not. Otherwise, public will be very worried. Now the time for more traveling. Whether development and necessity or opportunity, something is something. But meantime, they announce before 4 hours this flight will going or not. Otherwise, south to north, north to south. This is all the people are waiting here. Public must get information minimum 4 hours before. Then we will come up. Otherwise, make more worries to public. Thank you. More publicity is more important first. Thank you. You are doing that. Thank you very much.
All right, Shanti, appreciate you joining us with your perspective as well. All right, I understand that was Pradeep. Apologies. I think we lost the line of Shanti. But viewers, the numbers are flashing on your screens. Do call us if you were, in an unfortunate situation where you were also stuck waiting for your flight. In fact, it's happened with me also 2 weeks ago. But quickly, Amir, coming to you as far as the redressal is concerned, are there loopholes in the system to address grievances? We just heard what all of them had to say.
Well, I am also happy to tell you that I pulled out the civil aviation requirement of the DGCA. It is really unfortunate. It's dated 6th August 2010, and we are in 2024. There has been a sea change in the ability to communicate with passengers, with mobile phones and the internet. And this thing is stuck at 2010. Is this updated? Okay, thanks. I've just got the updated version, and it's been revised in 15th February 2023. Only the numbers have changed. The system is still the same. So the consequence of that is that passengers have very little chance of redressal. Delays in flight are still on the same page. I mean, they haven't changed those. Block time 2.5 hours, 24 hours delay means you get a hotel. The compensation scheme is not kind enough to passengers, and the redressal is even worse. To get redressal here, you have to either complain to the DGCA and hope for the best, but you won't get your money from there. There you have to go to a consumer court. So these are difficulties, and that's why airlines are taking advantage of that.
It's a point that I would go to Captain Sanjay too, but quickly let me go across to Suresh joining me from Kolkata with the phone line. Suresh, good afternoon. Do tell us your ordeal, if any, as far as the chaos is concerned.
I would like to say something that all passengers, I am talking about America now. It is happening in America also. It is not only in India. I have been on a flight in the US where my flight was supposed to take off at 1800 hours. It took off the next day at 400 hours. They kept my baggage. They said they can't give me back my baggage because it was already loaded. They gave us nothing to eat. They gave us nothing. It is happening all over. Our panelists are only blaming the Indian authorities, but everywhere the conditions are the same. India is as bad or as good as anybody else. That is all I have to say.
Right, Suresh. I appreciate you joining us with your perspective. Let me quickly get in Raymond from Bengaluru over the phone lines as well. Raymond, good afternoon. Go ahead and share with us your perspective.
Good afternoon. I think the government has to step in now and regulate the airlines, especially in India. If you go by Singapore Airlines, I'm sorry I'm mentioning an airline, but they're absolutely good. If you go there and you miss the flight, they straight away put you into a taxi and send you to a hotel and look after you, bring you the next day, and put you on a flight. Of course, yes, they don't give you the luggage back. I don't know what is the reason for that. They won't give you the main luggage. They say it is already booked. You come and collect it tomorrow. That's a little of a hassle. But if we know about it, we'll plan for that in our baggage. But I think the government, it is time now. It is high time that our government steps in and controls people like Air India and things like that to get this sorted out. We can't go on like this. When you land at the airport and there's an issue, they got to take controls. They got to take you to a hotel, put you up there, and bring you the next day. In fact, there is a provision for them to look after you medically also in case there's an issue.
All right, Raymond, I appreciate you also joining us with your perspective and your personal experience as well. But on that note, I'd have to thank my guests for joining me on the show, Amir as well as Captain Sanjay. Thank you very much for not only taking the time out, earlier Professor Sriram Khanna as well, with your thoughts and also helping our viewers better understand both the aspects of it. We're slipping into a quick break here on Mirror at 1. More news coming up on the other side. Stay with us.